name is Haley Davidson, and I am the acting director of international student recruitment and marketing with Foothill and De Anza. I'm so excited to be here with you today to share some interesting information about our district, Foothill and De Anza, and particularly from the student perspective. So hopefully questions that you have that you want to get answered, and we can help you out today. So I am joined here with my team, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then I will go through the agenda for the webinar today. As I mentioned, you can please put your questions in the chat as we go along, or hold them till the end. We will have an open Q&A session at the end, where if you prefer to unmute and ask your question, we'll encourage you to do that. So we hope you get the most out of the session today. Thanks again for joining us, and allow me to introduce our other staff members here with us. Can we start with Jen?
Oh, hi. Hi, good morning, good evening, good night, everyone. My name is Jennifer Brooke. I am the Interim Executive Director of International Student Programs for both Foothill College and De Anza College. I've worked at the district for over 7 years, and I originally was an international student myself in the United States. I'm from Canada. I don't know if there's any Canadians here, but I'm so happy that you've joined us today. And like Haley said, I hope you get a lot of this out of this session and that you enjoy. So thank you again for joining. Next person, I don't know, Topali or yeah, Topali.
Yeah, all right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is such a perfect end to my day. I am in India. My name is Dipali Shah. I'm the Assistant Director of International Student Recruitment with Foothill College and De Anza College. I'm based in India, and I take care of students from South Asia and the Middle East. So if you have any questions about Foothill College, De Anza College, your application process, assistance in applying for the F1 visa, you're free to reach out to me. And we hope that we can add as much value as possible to the session today. Thank you.
Thanks, Dipali. Lark, can you go next? I think, oh, you can't unmute. Okay, that's no problem. We have Lark Craddy. She is our supervisor.
Oh, hello.
There you are.
Sorry, it said that the host had to unmute me, so sorry about that. Hi, everyone. My name is Lark Craddy. I'm the program supervisor for the Foothill College office. It's so great to see so many of you on with us here today. I hope that we have the opportunity to meet some of you in person, maybe this upcoming year or next, but regardless, our office is here to support you virtually or in person, and we wish you all the best with your studies this upcoming year.
Thanks, Lark. Let's have Kinlin go next.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Ling, and I am the program coordinator at the De Anza College ISB office. I'm mainly in charge of creating events and activities for international students. And I'm also overseeing the ISP social media channels. And thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you guys will enjoy the webinar. Thanks.
And Mongling.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Mongling. I'm the program coordinator at Foothill College. I'm like a counterpart of Ling. Thank you for joining us today. Today, I'll be the tech support. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop in the chat and we will all answer your questions. And I hope you enjoy the webinar today. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see, do we have any other of our regional recruiters with us? Okay, perhaps they'll join us later, but we do have a team who are stationed throughout the world in other countries, aside from our local team here. And you may have worked with them before or not, but as you can see, there's a large group here who are excited to support you and welcome you when you join us here at Foothill and De Anza. If you'd like to put in the chat where you're from, I think it'll be interesting to see. We have people from all over. I know we also have students at different places in the admission process. So perhaps you haven't yet applied, you're still considering, maybe you've already started the application process, or I know some of you actually are already admitted, maybe for the upcoming winter or spring quarters. So we welcome all of you and hope again that we can answer your questions. And feel free to put your introduction and or your questions in the chat as we go along. So first, I'd like to share a quick agenda, the session goals that we're going to accomplish today. The first slide we're going to show you is the top reasons why students choose Foothill or De Anza colleges. And my colleague Dipali, who you met a moment ago, is going to go over that with you. After that, we'll go over housing options. So as a community college, you might know we don't have on-campus housing, but we still support you as you're looking for housing. And so we'll go over some housing options that you have when you join Foothill and De Anza. We'll briefly go over the application process. So I'll show you where to access the application form, where you can review the application requirements and the deadlines, related information. Then we'll jump right into the main part of our event today, which is our student panel. So we really want you to hear the information directly from students about what it's like to live and study here in Silicon Valley. So that will be the bulk of the presentation today. And we'll finish off with a question and answer session. So any questions that you have still lingering or that you'd like to ask aloud to either the staff or our student panel, you'll be free to do that at that point. I'm just going to check the chat before we begin. All right, I think we're good to go. Okay, I'm going to pass it off to Dipali, who's going to review the reasons here why students choose to study with us at Foothill and De Anza colleges.
Thank you, Haley. Hello, everyone. So I am really happy that you all are with us virtually today. And I'm going to tell you a few reasons that students decide to begin their undergraduate studies at Foothill College or De Anza College. And let me start by first explaining the concept of community colleges to you. So community colleges are two-year public institutions in the US. And what community colleges provide is a two-year transfer program with universities for your undergraduate studies. That's your bachelor's degree. That means instead of going directly to a four-year university, you can actually begin at a community college, complete your first 2 years of undergraduate studies. What you study at the community college are university level classes. They're totally transferable, but they're offered at half the cost of universities at a very affordable cost and with a lot of support. After 2 years at a community college, you can transfer directly into the third year of a university, complete your last 2 years at the transfer university, and you get your bachelor's degree from the transfer university. That means you still have the same degree that any student who did all 4 years at the university gets, but this is a more supportable, more affordable, and easier, relatively easier way to get to your dream university. Now, with more than 1,000 community colleges in the US, let me tell you why students begin or prefer to begin their undergrad studies at Foothill College or De Anza College from what I've heard. A lot of students really like our location. We are in the heart of the Silicon Valley, and that gives you access to the top 6,000 companies of the world headquartered, which means you have so many opportunities for networking, for internships. You know, the weather is superb. It's the perfect sunny and pleasant Californian weather. It's a very safe place to be at. So your parents wouldn't mind sending you here. So that's the location. And you're not too far from San Francisco, right? Also, what students really like about Foothill College and De Anza College is our support. So we have our international student programs team that helps you right from selecting what classes you should enroll in. There is a transfer center that can help you with your transfer goals. We have transfer fairs where universities visit you. There is so much support that you get from your faculty because guess what? Our average class size is only about 27 students per class, definitely smaller than most of the big public universities where you would be sitting with 300, 400 students for your general education classes. So being in that small class size in itself is an advantage because that directly gives you opportunities to interact more with your professors and have more access to them. Also, what's really interesting about Foothill College or community colleges is that our professors are full-time faculty. We do not have our faculty, they're professors. We do not have teaching assistants teaching you in the classroom. So these are some reasons that students really like Foothill College and De Anza College, but I'll tell you my personal favorite. Foothill and De Anza are number one. We're ranked number one for transfers to the University of California campuses. And it's definitely, in most cases, easier to transfer to top universities through the two-year transfer path. We have over 130 transfer agreements. There are guaranteed and preferred transfers. So you know you're not lost after 2 years as long as you've done your, things well, you've attended classes and you've paid attention and done your best. With that, I am going to open to, we will be taking more questions towards the end, but also getting admission to a community college is relatively easier. We do not require SATs or ACTs for admissions. All we need is a simple online application to be filled out on our website, and we'll show you how you do that and what the requirements are. So these are some top reasons that students choose Foothill and De Anza colleges. We also offer you an associate degree, which is optional. You can choose to take this degree before you transfer. It gives you an extra work permit of 1 year. You can get OPT, work for 1 year full time before transferring. And the best thing about this entire 2-year transfer program, the experience is it's affordable. Your parents are going to love this part. Our international annual tuition is around $8,500 if you do 12 credits per quarter. And our overall cost of attendance is estimated at around $27,182, definitely lesser than university costs, which all range from $35,000 and above. So with that, I think it's now time to give you some more information, and we'll take your questions towards the end. Thank you for listening.
Thanks so much, Dipali. I'm going to now pass it to Lynn, who's going to tell you a little bit about our housing options.
So we're like the most community colleges, both De Anza and Foothill College do not operate on campus dormitories. So most students rent apartments and houses, or they're looking for homestay around the campus area. So you can also check with a private company called International Students Placement to arrange your homestays with local residents who let students stay in their homes for a fee. And the additional housing information are listed on the ISP website, and links are also listed on the screen as well. And by the way, the Airbnb.com and apartments.com are a great resource for searching apartments as well. Yeah. We can go next page.
Thank you. Just 1 second here. Okay. Okay, so the next part, I'm going to share with you the application process. As I mentioned earlier, I know some of you have actually completed the process already and are hopefully planning to come maybe even as soon as January. But for those of you who haven't yet started or completed the process, you'll want to find our application on our website. I'll open the website in just a moment, but on this site, you'll be able to review the admission requirements. access the application form itself. And you'll also find a link to the specific college, Foothill or De Anza websites if you've already selected which campus and you would like to get campus-specific information, for example, orientation, registration information, etc. And before I open the link, I do want to review the upcoming application deadlines. We are still accepting applications for winter, which begins January 3rd, 2022. The priority deadline is October 31st. So that's coming up soon, but we hope that this session will give you the information you need to get that application in on time, and you'll be able to join us in winter. We are also admitting for online study. So if that time period is a little short to be able to get a visa, etc., you can begin your studies online. So again, we urge you to get your application in by October 31st for online or possibly in-person study with us. Or spring 2022 is open now too. That begins in April, and the deadline there is January 31st to allow you a little bit more time. Now, hopefully everyone can see the website here. Please stop me if not, but international.fhda.edu is our main district website where you'll find information for both Foothill and De Anza colleges. Our admission requirements, you can browse, the deadlines are posted here, but also the list of items that you'll need when completing the application. A list of all the ways you can meet our English proficiency requirement, and the other documents you might need to submit. If you want to review the wonderful reasons Dipali went over about why students choose to study with us, you can find more information here, why study at Foothill and De Anza. And you can find the campus websites here. So those of you who've already applied, and want to go straight to the campus that you've chosen, you'll have the link there. The most important is the Apply Now button. So this is where you'll open the application form. Let's see if that works for us. Beautiful. And here is the main page of our application form. If you're a first-time user, so you haven't yet started the application process, you'll create an account here. If you've already started your application or possibly already been admitted and you need to log back in to check on your status, you'll go to returning users, log in here. So hopefully that's helpful to show you where our information can be found. Of course, we're always available to answer questions and can send you the links you need via email. Okay, let me get back to my presentation. Hopefully everyone can see here. All right, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our student panel. So these are current and actually one former student who recently transferred, who are going to give you their perspective on what it was like to study with us. So I will introduce them one by one and ask them to please unmute and tell us a little bit more about where you're from, what you're studying, and maybe how long you've been at Foothill or De Anza. So first, can we start with Brenda?
Hello, everyone. I'm Brenda. I am from Brazil, and I'm a second-year student at Foothill College. My major is business administration. And I was an au pair in the US for 2 years before joining Foothill as an international student, and I took an ESL class at Foothill, and that's when I decided to apply to keep studying at Foothill.
Great, thank you, Brenda. Next, can we have Shlok?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Shlok Shah and I'm from India. So I joined Foothill in fall 2019. And I transferred, like spring 2021 was my last quarter, and I transferred to UC Davis for computer science. So now this is my third year at UC Davis, and I had a wonderful 2 years at De Anza, at Foothill, and I'm happy to answer all your questions about it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, Kevin from De Anza.
Hi everyone. My name is Tu. I usually go by Kevin. I am from Vietnam. This is my second year in the US, and my major is computer science. It's actually not engineering.
Oh, it's not engineering. Apologies.
Yeah, I actually changed it a few months ago. So
Okay, good. And lastly, we have Lucy.
Hi everyone. So I'm Lucy and I'm a student at Foothill and my major is graphic design. I'm a first year student and I also work as a communications and graphic design assistant at Foothill. And I also create some of the content for social media on Foothill and De Anza as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Lucy. And thank you all students for being here with us today. I'm actually going to end the screen share now so that you can see our students as they're presenting, or rather responding to the interview questions, and hopefully connect with them a little bit. Okay, so our students, I'm going to go through a list of questions that hopefully everyone finds useful, but there will be time after to ask questions if they don't mention the things that you're interested in. So can each student on our panel tell us what made you decide to study at Foothill and De Anza? I know, Brenda, you mentioned you were an au pair before, so you were already living in the Bay Area. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yes, sure. So I was an au pair for 2 years. I was living in the Bay Area, and I not only fell in love with the area, but I also took a class at Foothill. Was an ESL class, so that class was on campus, and it made me love the school. So I decided to continue my studies here instead of going back to Brazil and finishing my studies there. So that's how I decided.
Great, thanks. Shlok, how about you? What made you choose to study at Foothill?
So one of the biggest reasons why I chose Foothill was like the cost of attendance. Like doing a complete 4-year at a university, at a 4-year university, like turns out to be really expensive. But I found out from like Dipali that the cost of attendance for Foothill, like community colleges, are relatively very low, at least like half the cost, if I'm not wrong. So doing 2 years at community college and the transfer pathways, as well as like the various programs that Foothill offers to transfer to a 4-year university, really like changed my mind and made me choose Foothill as a place where I'd like to do my first 2 years of college.
Yeah, I'm curious, and I see someone's actually asked in the chat, did you consider De Anza College, or was it always Foothill for you? And if you considered both, what made you go with one over the other?
Yeah, I definitely considered both. I chose Foothill. I just looked around. I Googled like pictures of the place, and I liked Foothill more because of how the campus looked. But De Anza and Foothill both are great places to be.
Great, thanks. Yeah, so Foothill has a little bit more, not rustic, but country feel, a little more remote, whereas De Anza is a little bit busier, more urban feel to it. So that is the top reason why people choose, is the environment, the feeling, the surrounding atmosphere. Kevin, can you tell us what made you choose De Anza?
So when I first came to the US, I was in LA. I was attending a small community college in LA. But then my sister, who was studying at De Anza, she kept talking about how great the school was. And she kept talking about how great the services were. So after a while, I got tempted. So I decided to move here and attend De Anza College. It's been a year and a half, and probably not a decision that I regret.
Great, thanks. And Lucy, how about you?
Hi, so like Brenda, I also used to be an au pair here. And I was au pairing for 2 years in the Bay Area, and I really loved the area and I made a lot of friends here. So I also took a class doing computer science in Foothill. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to study here, because I really enjoyed the experience and I felt like the professors were really supportive. So yeah, I decided to study at Foothill to attain the goal of a 2-year degree.
Great, thanks everyone. The next question is about housing. So as we mentioned, and everyone knows, there's no on-campus housing like some four-year universities might offer. So students have a little bit more work to do securing housing, but we do help them with that. And so can you share with the group how you found your housing? Maybe did you use the homestay program that Lynn mentioned, or did you find your own housing? And let's go ahead and start with Shock on this one.
Okay, so for my first quarter, my parents weren't comfortable with like me getting an apartment immediately because it was my first time in the US as well. So I opted for ISP. It's like a great program where I think it's not connected to Foothill. It's this private program, but like it is mainly for students for around that area. And I stayed with a family in Mountain View, and like they treated me so well, and it was definitely worth it. But I moved out in my second quarter. When I made friends in my first quarter, we looked around for apartments, and I can also tell you what I was looking for in apartments. So unless you have a car, I think the bus that is free for all Foothill students, Foothill and De Anza. So the bus is the only way. It was the best way for me to commute, and most students use the bus as well. So I found an apartment that was close to a bus stop that went to Foothill. So that was like one of the things that I looked for in an apartment. Yep.
Okay, great. I think that's a common thing, is to stay in the homestay program for the first couple of months before you meet people and are able to get an understanding of the area and move to an apartment. Kevin, did you do the homestay ever, or you found an apartment right away?
I didn't use the homestay program. I got an apartment because a friend of mine recommended it to me. But I was like really put effort into finding an apartment. So what I did was I looked into my community. For example, I'm Vietnamese, so there's a group on Facebook about the group Vietnamese live in San Jose or around De Anza. You can just go in there and ask them like if there's any available apartment nearby.
Great tip. Brenda, how about you?
So for me, because I was an au pair, I was already used to live with a family, and I know how supportive it is to have someone, especially when you're starting your school and you don't know what to expect. So I had a plan to move out. I was in a homestay program and I had a plan to move out, but because of COVID, I stayed fully online. So there was actually no point to move out with my friends at that moment, but we actually planning to move out in the beginning of the year and live together, since now things are starting to go back to normal. But I definitely do recommend for those who are not comfortable staying by themselves or just not sure yet, it is there are a lot of great families around there, just happy to have students and love the cultural exchange of having students from another country.
Thanks, Brenda. And Lucy?
So I used to be an au pair too, so I also lived with a family for 2 years and I really enjoyed that experience. But after I decided to study here, I actually got an apartment with some roommates that I live with that I found previously. So I didn't find them through the ISP program, but yeah, I find that it can be quite easy to make friends here because everyone's really nice. So yeah, I live with a few roommates currently.
Great. Okay, so Brenda, you mentioned COVID. So things have been a little bit different at the colleges for the past year or so, starting with all online classes. We've slowly transitioned back, and now we have more in-person things for winter quarter, we hope to have even more in-person things on campus. But I'm curious, can you share what your current class schedule is like in terms of online versus in-person? I know Shlok is here and he's no longer at Foothill, but maybe last quarter when you were here, what was your schedule like? And what can you tell us about how online learning has been during the COVID pandemic? I'll start, Brenda unmuted, so let's go with Brenda.
So I had fully online classes until this quarter, and I started during COVID because I started in March of 2020. So this is my first quarter after the pandemic. Started going to Foothill. I have one class that is in person on Tuesdays in the morning, and I love it. It's just, I told actually my friends, I didn't know how excited I was to go back in person until I went back in person and got my things ready, my bag ready. And that is really, I'm really enjoying, and I feel really safe and comfortable in class. I think the campus is really prepared to receive students and to have us back. So I'm really happy that we're slowly going back. And for this quarter, I only have one class in person because that's what I could fit in my schedule. But for next quarter, I want to try to get as many classes as I can to experience the campus and just the college life as much as I can.
Yeah, you're a great example of a student who's never really had the campus experience. You started during COVID. So yes, we hope that we just continue to offer more and more on campus. Lucy, how about you?
I also have been studying since COVID, so I haven't been able to do any in-person classes yet. But I'm planning on starting my in-person classes in January, which I'm excited about because I haven't actually got to go in yet, but I'm excited to.
Good. So if you've done all of your classes so far online, can you share anything about how it's been, your study schedule, any tips or challenges, and what it's been like to connect with professors and classmates? Lucy?
Oh, sorry. I think one of the best resources that I found, so when I first started, I was struggling to figure out which classes to take because there are also some other classes such as English and science and math that I had to take. So one of the best resources I found was actually going to an academic counselor on Foothill online. And then that counselor actually directed me to DegreeWorks, which is a resource on my portal, and that helps you plan out which classes to take during which quarter. And I found that relieved a lot of stress for me when it came to deciding which class to take. So yeah, that's probably one of the best resources that I could.
Okay, and you've been able to access the resources remotely?
Yeah.
Counseling and everything.
Gives access to pretty much everything. And I feel like Foothill, also the website, has a lot of resources that you can use. So
thanks. How about Kevin? What's your class schedule like? And do you have any in-person classes yet?
No, I haven't taken any in-person class yet. But my first quarter at De Anza, that was my in-person class. That was before the lockdown again.
Okay, you were here before the pandemic. And so which type of class do you prefer, or do you like having both online and in-person?
I would prefer in-person class because, because I need to study about the language as well. So in-person class really helped me to improve it, and I got a chance to make more friends.
Mm-hmm. So you're looking forward, maybe in winter you'll take some more in-person?
I hope so, but I'm planning to transfer, so I don't know.
Okay, you're almost done with us. Shlok, how about you? You finished up last spring, so what was that last quarter like for you?
Okay, so I did do my first two quarters at Foothill in person. So I got a feel of both in person and online, but let me tell you that Foothill was so helpful even in person, even online. So like I was in class in India, so it's nighttime, and like most of the professors were very accommodating. If I couldn't attend the lab because of like the time difference, they would send me the recording the next day and allow me to just do the work later. So that was very helpful. And the transfer, to help me transfer to get my classes, to know which classes I needed to take, I always relied on the advisors, the academic counselors who are on campus. And even though it was on Zoom, sorry, I think,
Are we losing you?
sorry, did I freeze?
I think you're back.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, the counselors really helped me throughout. Like each quarter, I would meet them twice or something, and they would help me plan out my classes, what I need to transfer based on where I wanted to transfer. So all that was super helpful, even in person as well as online.
Okay, great. So both of you, or two of you rather, have mentioned the academic counseling services. Does anyone have any other resources on campus or other tips they have in terms of academics that you've utilized either in person or online?
Yes, I think the tutoring center was really helpful. So I used to use the tutoring center for math, for CS, as well as English. So if I had like an essay and I wasn't sure correct, if the format is correct, I would like just go to the writing center where someone would read my essay and give me feedback based on what I could do to change some things, and where I can improve. And the STEM tutoring center was really helpful for my math and CS as well. I think there's another separate CS center as well, where if you have any doubts, they clear your concepts. So that was super helpful.
And Shlok, were you able to access these online remotely? The tutoring service?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, I did utilize it online as well. They have great resources online as well, and they were well equipped with like the technology needed to help you even when you were far away. Yeah.
Even in India.
Yeah, even in India.
Okay, let's go to the next question. I'd like to know a little bit about how you've been able to get involved and meet friends. So we've heard that at least for part of your studies, you've been totally online. Do you have any experience with getting involved with clubs or activities, and any tips for new students who are looking to do these things? Let's go with Brenda first.
So for me, I didn't mention, but I'm also an ISB ambassador. So that gave me a lot of opportunity to meet more people and to be involved with international students too, and talk with students. But in my classes, I am also always trying to just talk with classmates through the Canvas inbox, or sometimes on the breakout rooms. It's really a good experience to just try to chat and kind of try to have that classroom environment when the classes are online. And now that I have an in-person class, we kind of still figuring out how we do that whole connection in person, but it's been great because I feel like everybody wants to make friends and everybody wants to talk and share experiences. So for the clubs, I did not participate in any clubs, but I have attended some clubs events all online through the pandemic. And that was also great to meet new people, make new friends, and just kind of talk with other students that are going through the same experience, because that kind of helps. We kind of bond together and we all help each other. Yeah.
Thanks. How about Kevin? Have you done anything to get involved at De Anza or meet friends?
About meeting friends, I would say online learning wouldn't be the ideal place to make more friends. But if you want to meet someone and talk, I would say try to attend online events as much as possible, because that's where you're going to meet a lot of people and you can talk to them. And if you are coming to the US and stay around the Anza, you can look around the area. For example, I'm in downtown San Jose, and every week they have these events to get more people gathering around. And yeah, you can just go there and make friends. I did join some of them during the summer break, and it was great.
Great. Lucy?
Hi. Also, I just want to clarify that my accent is British. A lot of people are asking me where I'm from, Germany, somewhere. I'm British. I'm from the UK. And I would say during COVID, the best way to meet friends is maybe by joining Facebook groups and other social media groups. I know for girls, there's Outdoorsy Girls, which is a Facebook group which has lots of different people that are just lots of different women that are just happy to meet other people and get to know students. But as my time here previously, it also helps to just be very outgoing and be happy to meet new people from different places. The Bay Area has lots of different places, different people from different cultures. So just be completely outgoing, and yeah, like that's how I made friends here. So
Thanks, Lucy. And Shlok, how about you? How was your time when you were with us in terms of meeting friends and getting active in the community? We might have lost Shlok.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
So sorry.
No
Can you hear
worries.
me? Okay. So in my first quarter, I joined the ASFC. It's the Associate Students of like the student of Foothill College. So that's where I made a lot of friends and got to meet a lot of people from different countries, from different parts of the US as well. And I got to know that I'm not the only one that is. Sorry, I think can you hear me?
We could hear you. So you joined ASFC, which is the
I joined
student
the
government.
ASFC.
If people weren't able to hear that, that's a great way to get involved, as are clubs. Anything to add?
Yeah, and I joined a few clubs as well. So I was part of Week Care Club, but there are a bunch of clubs, so you can explore many options. But I chose Week Care Club. It was like a fundraising club that, like a volunteer club, which gave back to the community.
Great. Yeah, we do have lots of clubs on both campuses.
And yeah, so club.
And there's a club day every quarter at the beginning of the quarter where you can meet all the new clubs. And I think a couple of our students have mentioned everyone right now is very eager to meet people, to have interpersonal connections. So it's a great time to be joining us. Even if you're not super outgoing, I think everybody's just so ready to connect with people in person. So the clubs are a great way. They're going to be starting to have more and more activities on campus. So it's a really great time to join the campus community in terms of networking and getting involved. So I want to switch to more about the Bay Area and Silicon Valley. So can you guys share what do you like about living in the San Francisco Bay Area? And why don't we start with Kevin? What do you like about the area?
I probably not have much to talk about because I haven't been outside very much. But the one thing that I love around my area is that they have a Asian town down below downtown San Jose. It is like a big place for Asian culture. There's restaurant, there's shops, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much I know about the area.
Supermarket, so you can get the ingredients you want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Lucy, how about you? What do you like about living in the area?
the weather is a great plus. I'm used to rain 24/7 back in England, so that's great. The hikes, the beaches in San Jose are really great as well, and in San Francisco. And I also kind of like the downtown areas like San Jose, Sunnyvale, Mountain View, Los Gatos, places like that. Yeah.
Okay, Schlag, should we try? Hopefully we can hear you.
Yep. So what I loved the most was first the weather. then the people, so I'd been to the East Coast a few years before I came to Foothill, and I was like, oh, the people aren't that nice, but like the people in the Bay Area are really nice and helpful. And that's one thing that I noticed. And so I lived in Mountain View, and my favorite part about that area was downtown Mountain View, this street called Castro Street. It has a bunch of restaurants and like cool places to like hang out and go for dinner or something.
Yeah, that's a nice area. Brenda, anything to add about the advantages of living in the Bay Area?
So for me, I definitely love the weather. I'm from Brazil, so I love how warm and sunny it is here, but I also love I love the diversity of the Bay Area. I love that you can meet people from all over the world, and there's so much culture. There's so many different restaurants to go. Personally, I tried so many different of food that I haven't like been able to try back in Brazil. And I also love the outdoors. I love that there are so many hikes and pretty places to go so close to us. So that's what I love the most. And I love being outdoors. So I think the Bay Area is great for that.
Yeah, I agree. My next question, have you all been able to explore California, the wider California state, or other places in the US? I know there wasn't a lot of travel in the past year or so, but have you been able to travel throughout the US at all? And do you have any interesting places you visited? Brenda, we'll go back to you.
Yeah, so for me, I was very fortunate. For my 2 years before the pandemic, I could travel a lot. So in California and outside of California, one of my favorite places in California is my two favorite places are Lake Tahoe and Yosemite, which are only 3 hours road trip from kind of from the campus area. And outside of California, my other favorite place is Arizona, the Grand Canyon, which is also not too far from here in a road trip. So I love that we can road trip to so many cool places from here. Yeah.
All right. How about Lucy? Have you done any traveling throughout California?
I'm also the exact same as Brenda. I luckily, as an au pair, got to travel for 2 years before the pandemic hit. So I would say some of the best places that I liked outside of California would probably be Las Vegas or New York. But inside California, I really like Lake Tahoe. That's one of my favorite places. And Mammoth Lake. Those places super snowy in the winter, and it's just a good break from all the sun sometimes. So yeah.
Do you ski or snowboard?
Yeah, you can ski, snowboard, all different types of stuff. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's one of the perks of the Bay Area is you can drive to ski or drive to surf. I mean, within the same day is a little bit of a stretch, but they're both quite close if you're into outdoors and extreme sports. Let's see, Kevin, have you done any traveling? You mentioned you were in LA before. So what are your favorite places in California?
So I haven't traveled outside California. And I only been to San Luis in LA. And obviously I love LA more, mostly because they have Disneyland.
Disneyland?
Yep, that place is great.
Do you go back to LA to visit, or you've stayed mostly in the Bay Area?
I stay mostly in the Bay Area, but I did have a chance to go to San Luis during the time.
Okay.
And yeah, the area was in San Luis Obispo. It was mostly mountain, so there was a lot of hiking.
Yeah, Central California, so not too far. Good. And Schlock, how about you?
So luckily in 2019, I got a chance to do the whole Pacific Coast Drive.
Wow.
So from LA, I went to SF and I crossed like Yosemite, then I went to Napa. So I went to a bunch of places in California, and to be honest, Yosemite is like still my favorite place ever. It's like if you get a chance, do definitely go to Yosemite. And if you're in the position to, I'd say like take advantage of Thanksgiving break or your spring break, to just travel around California or anywhere in the US. So yeah,
Thank you, Shlok.
I
All right, I'm going to move to my last question, which is, do you students have any last tips or advice for new students who may be coming to the US for the first time this winter or spring? Any last pieces of advice that you'd like to share, thinking about when you were a new student? Maybe we'll start with Lucy.
Tips I would suggest is just to try be as outgoing as possible, to make new friends. I know for me it was hard because I've lived most of my life in one place, so to move here with lots of different people was hard at first, but yeah, I feel like once you can break out of that, and it's a lot easier for you to make friends here. So everyone's so lovely here, like they're really nice and outgoing. So
Thanks, Lucy. Shlok?
So I'd say get involved on campus as soon as you can. Like join the clubs, join SFC if possible. And even when you go to class, like talk to people, don't just sit quietly, like interact with because everyone's from like different places. You're not the only one. So, you can probably relate to a bunch of students on campus. So yeah, best way is to like just get involved, like get a little out of your comfort zone and talk to other people.
Thanks. Brenda?
For me, I would say kind of the same thing, get involved with the campus and as much as you can. If you are interested, look for on-campus part-time jobs, clubs and all of that, because I always think that this is one experience, and once it's over, we're going to miss it, and we're going to miss the chance to just be students and meeting new people. Talk with the professors, use office hours to talk, to join, and just ask questions, not only about classes, but about career and questions that you have about life in general, because I think we have a lot of great people that have so many good advices to give to us that we're going to take it for life. So I would just say enjoy as much as you can and be involved as much as you can in the campus community.
Thanks, Brenda. Lastly, Kevin, anything to add?
So for those who's gonna come to the US during winter and spring quarter, I would say there's gonna be a lot of good things come to you away when you studying at Anza, but there are also some disadvantages. You're probably gonna feel homesick. That's like inevitable. So I would say stay strong.
Yeah, if you can expect it, then you can work through it. But like we mentioned, there'll be more in-person classes and activities, and hopefully that will lead you to more opportunities to get involved. Thank you all to our student panel so very much. Your answers were really great and hopefully useful to all of our participants here today. I'll let you, please do stay on, students, so that you can help with some of the questions, but we'll go ahead and move to first addressing questions in the chat. So can I have any of the staff want to help us tackle the questions? I do see a lot in there. Are there any questions that haven't been answered in the chat that we want to answer aloud?
There was a student who asked about, are there any tips on, how you can save a little bit on cost, like control your pocket money or, something like that. So are there any tips that you all would like to give on this to students? How can they kind of reduce their cost a little bit?
That's a good question. Any of the students have advice for how you manage your spending money?
I would just say plan accordingly, like plan how much money you plan to spend per month on groceries and laundry and just all the general necessities that you need. And then after you've taken that out, then you have you can figure out how much spending money you have per month.
And some of you have jobs, so on-campus job is a good way to make some extra spending money. Brenda, do you have anything to add?
I would also add, I'm taking a class this quarter that's called Personal Finance, and it's a class that I wish I took in the very beginning. So if you have a chance, it's a class in the business core, but everybody can take that class, and it's really good to just learn how to budget and learn. It was actually Meng Ling who told me about that class, and I was kind of like, should I take it, should I not? But I'm glad I'm taking it because it's a really good class to learn how to plan accordingly to your budget and your goals. Yeah.
I've actually wanted to take that class before. I think everyone could benefit. That's a good tip. Other questions in the chat? Let's see.
I have one question. It's a direct question. So a student is asking, Shlok, if you can answer this, what kind of classes did you take before transferring? Can you highlight a little bit? Like what classes did you, what kind of classes, the general ed and lower division classes, like what kind of those classes?
Yeah, so before transferring, my major required classes, so that's all the CS classes required to transfer because I'm a CS major. And then with that came all my mathematic requirements. And I also had to complete general education requirements. And you have to complete your hello. Okay.
Yeah, we might be.
Yeah, we can.
You're cutting out a little bit, but to summarize, so there's major specific courses, computer science, general education courses that everyone takes.
Exactly.
And the counselors help you with this.
The counselors will help you with what you need to transfer. So you need to meet them from the start and tell them what your goals are and where you hope to transfer to. And they will tell you, like, they'll explain to you how you can find out what you need, what classes you need. So they'll tell you about assist.org and how you can find out what classes you need to transfer. And you definitely have to take the general ed classes.
Yeah, so in your first quarter, you'll meet with an academic counselor to create what's called an education plan. So depending on your major and what your goal is, that's where you'll be able to map out your classes for the next 2 years approximately before transferring. So I think the students all mentioned using the counseling resources. That's where you'll get the help you need to know what classes to take and when. Deepali, any other questions that haven't been answered in the chat?
There are a few which are related to majors. So there's a question, is medical laboratory technology major easy to transfer?
I'm not sure if any students here have experience with that particular major, so I don't know if you can answer that one exactly. It depends where you want to transfer to.
Yeah.
So we do have transfer centers at both campuses. If you're not sure, a lot of students come in and they're sure, I want to transfer to UC Berkeley, or I want to transfer to Stanford, right? But if you're not sure, or you know what major, but don't know what schools in the US are strong in that major, we do have transfer centers to help you explore the options. So I think it's, of course, your major matters in how easy it is to transfer, but also what school are you looking at? How competitive is it? And that how impacted, how many students try to go there. So you can definitely work through that with a transfer counselor. But unfortunately, I don't know personally about that particular major, and our students here today aren't in that major.
Yeah. And so there are a lot of questions of this sort, but there's one question, and I think the students can take this one. So it says, does De Anza help you to tackle with culture shock? So basically, they want to know how easy it is to adjust, like on campus and in the community, in the city. So is it a welcoming city? Do you feel that you're welcome? Is it easy to adjust? You want to talk about that?
Kevin, I know you've mentioned finding the local community that you can relate to.
I'm sorry?
So do you want to talk about how to adjust culturally to the area?
How to
Is
adjust
it
culturally?
easy? Do you feel welcome? Were you able to find kind of the community that you're comfortable with?
Oh yeah. I mean, the Vietnamese here act a bit differently from the Vietnamese in Vietnam. So I mean, that's something that I just have to adapt to because you know they live here for a long time and they kind of change, I guess.
Any other students want to add about culturally how it's been to adapt to the area?
So for me, as I mentioned before, I think the Bay Area is very diverse, which is really good because you do feel welcome because you see people from all over the world around. And it's always, I didn't know that before I moved here, but it's always easy to find people from the same country that you're from if you're specifically missing food or something that's from your culture. I'm sure there are going to be more students on campus, restaurants around the area that you can go to kind of like eat comforting food that reminds you of home. So I think I wouldn't say it's easy to adjust because it's never easy. You have a little bit of a culture shock, but it takes a little time, but I think everybody will adjust because as Lucy mentioned, everybody around is just so lovely and nice that for me, I started calling California and the Bay Area home really quickly because it just feels like home.
Thanks, Brenda. I see a question. Do you recommend staying at a temporary place like Airbnb before renting an apartment for the long term? I think our biggest recommendation is to do the homestay program at first. And luckily they have very short contracts. So I think 3 or 4 months is your contract so that by that time you're situated, you've met friends, and you'll be able to move out. So that would probably be the most affordable option. Did any of you on the student panel do a temporary Airbnb before you found your housing? I see shaking heads. So I think I've heard students do that. I think the main downside is the cost. It can be pretty expensive to do a short-term rental like that, but it is possible. In any case, it is nice to have some buffer time before you move in with roommates, for example, that you don't know. So whether it's the homestay or an Airbnb, probably not a hotel, that might be even more expensive, but it is nice to allow that time to meet your classmates, connect on our social media accounts before you do a long-term apartment. Staff, feel free to jump in if you see a question. Anything I'm missing, Dipali?
No, there's just some general questions which I'm taking on chat. Like students are asking when will the orientation for winter begin? So that's around December. And you will get emails. So the most important things for students who've already been admitted are keep a very close watch on your emails, check inbox as well as spam, because sometimes with links, emails can go into spam. Complete assessment, your assessment test requirements, attend class registration, attend orientation. Please ensure you're reading emails and following instructions. That will really help.
Thanks, Dipali. How do you apply for the live in program? I'm guessing that means in person. The process is the same, whether you intend to study online from your home country or come into the US and hopefully have some in-person classes. So the application form is the same. It's afterwards whether you need to request an I-20 and do the visa process. So either way, you'll be guided through the steps after you submit your application. But again, the application form is the same. I see a question for Brenda. what major are you going to transfer after you finish at Foothill, your business degree?
I am actually not transferring after I finish my 2 years because I was very fortunate to, with the pandemic, I was able to go back to study in Brazil virtually. So I'm finishing my 4-year degree in Brazil, and I'm finishing my associates at Foothill at the same time. But if I was going to transfer, I would choose something related to marketing and digital marketing because that's what I want to do.
You've been busy, Brenda, completing
Yes.
2 programs at one time, but
Yes.
thank you. Ivy League, can I transfer my major to an Ivy League? The answer is yes, it is possible. Deepali, oh, you might, no, you're there. Do you have anything to add about transferring to an Ivy League?
I would say transferring to an Ivy League is still competitive. Your chances could be a little more than a direct first year admission, because with the right support at a community college like Foothill or De Anza, you get access to, the tutoring center, that's your student success center. You have smaller classes to work on your weak areas, and you could get a little benefit, and, you can get a bump in your GPA compared to a direct first year admission. But it's not a cakewalk. If you want to transfer to an Ivy League, you still have to be at the top of your game and ensure that you're following instructions and doing what you have to do to meet those transfer requirements. I would say it could be a little easier compared to a first year admission, but it's not a cakewalk. You still have to be at the top of your game.
Thanks, Deepali. We have a question for, is Shlok with us, or did we lose?
Yep, I am.
You're here.
I'm
Okay.
back.
Are you doing any kind of job or maybe internship?
So I've currently applied for a ton of jobs and internships. So there'll be like career fairs and internship fairs where a bunch of companies will come and so a bunch of companies will come and talk to you about their company and how you can apply and how and what they're looking for in interns. But if you're living in the Bay Area, so definitely going to be a bunch of computer science internships and jobs as well.
Thanks. We have this question again, if a major in medical assistant is transferable to nursing. So again, we don't have any students particularly in those majors with us today. So we can't answer exactly, but yes, the credits you take at Foothill or De Anza, you're able to work with a counselor to determine what you have to take to transfer into the program of your choice. So yes, it is possible to transfer into a program like medical assisting into a nursing program, but you'd have to work with a counselor to figure out exactly what classes you need.
Yeah, and there's a similar question from a student. It's put on private chat, but I'll just answer it so everyone can hear. He asks, there's a myth that you can't transfer into a medical school after you've completed, after your undergraduation if you studied at a community college. That's not true, because there's nothing called like a bachelor's in medicine in the US. At the undergrad level, you're still doing an undergrad program with some pre-medicine classes, the pre-medicine track. So after 2 years at a community college, you're still going to transfer into the 3rd year of an undergrad program of a bachelor's degree. You're still going to complete the last 2 years, get your bachelor's degree from the transfer university, and then you have to give your entrance exam, NCAT, and then move to medical school. So that's about the process.
Yeah, you still need to complete that bachelor degree to be eligible for med school. But you can certainly start at Foothill and De Anza on that path.
Yeah, and then there's another question by Kritin. Is it true that community college students don't have the upper hand in getting internships? Do you want to answer this? I can actually give you an example. I've had students from India who are doing internships, though they were students of Foothill and De Anza. So I don't think that's true. Everyone's eligible. So
I've actually never heard that. I think, yeah, you're just as eligible as another candidate.
Absolutely.
All right.
And then there's a question which says, does De Anza and Foothill as well help students with personal essay application to universities? That means the transfer essays? Yes, you do get help. Shlok, you've gone through it. So did you get help with the transfer process? Do you want to tell them?
So yeah, so for the essays, I completed my essays on my own, and then I went to the transfer center to like just review them, and they were just helpful in terms of what I can add or what I need to remove. Maybe it's sounding too cliche, so things like that. Definitely, the transfer center is definitely going to help you with your application process. Any questions you have, they're always at answer. But obviously you have to do everything yourself. They're not going to write your essays for you, but if you want to like review it or you're not sure about something, they'll help you out.
Yeah, so I mentioned the transfer centers. They do start offering workshops, especially during application season, when the UC and CSU apps are open. So the resources are there to get help. But like Shlok said, they're not going to write it for you, but as much assistance as you need, editing, etc., that's available. And there's a question, can you apply for any job when you land in California? So unfortunately, with the F1 visa, you are restricted to on-campus employment, at least to begin with. So on-campus jobs. And there's a variety of them. There will be more and more as we return to campus. So some students have been working remotely in different offices. So that's what you can apply to right off the bat. You can work up to 19 hours on campus with your F1 visa. After you've been in the US for a year, you're eligible to apply for an internship, which could be off campus. And you'll have to take that in conjunction with an internship class, and it has to be related to your major. And then, of course, after completing a degree, either at Foothill or De Anza, or perhaps after your bachelor degree, there's options for OPT, optional practical training, to have a full-time job. So it's not any job you want. There are some restrictions. But I think the students here would agree that the on-campus jobs are good experience and for your job, for extra spending money. So that's available to you right away. Speaking of jobs, a question for Shlok, when did you start your internship? Did you finish?
So I did do an internship in summer of 2020, but I was in India that time. Like I'd come back because of COVID, so the internship was also with an Indian company. But as long as you have your grades, like you're on top of your game, you have you've done something. Yeah, can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so as long as you've got your grades and like you know what you want, you can like find a bunch of internships, even if you're in community college. So whatever that your friend of yours said is not true, you can get internships even if you're in community college. If you're as eligible as a candidate from like a university.
Okay, and then I really want the Foothill students to answer this because sometimes students have this myth. So the question is, since Foothill is not located in an urban area, do you still get the opportunity to go out and have a social life with the local people? So Foothill is suburban, it's not rural, and our Foothill students will answer this question.
Foothill is it's like 5 minutes away from like the downtown Mountain View. Like everything's really close by. It's not like it's not really like urban or anything like that, or rural. It's pretty close to every downtown area, and like you can meet a lot of friends. You can go out, and like commuting is pretty easy.
Yeah, Foothill it's on a hill, so the campus itself feels separate, but no one lives by the campus. I think everybody lives in the town just down the hill. So it feels very remote, but it's actually not. And Mountain View is a really great town. That's the closest one besides Los Altos. So yeah, you still get to connect with the community, shopping, restaurants. You take the public transportation to San Francisco, San Jose. So you aren't really isolated.
And Haley, there's another question which probably you can answer because you've been part of the admission team.
Sure.
So a student says that he had an admission for a particular major, computer science at De Anza. Now, if he wants to change his major, can he apply for a change in major, or does he have to wait for 1 quarter to be completed?
Well, the answer is tricky depending on your I-20. So if you've been issued an I-20 with that major, we'd ask that you don't change it until you arrive. So it's quite easy to change and update your major once you're here. But if you've already been issued the document to get your visa, we'd ask you to stick with that and then go with the change after you arrive.
That's amazing. And yeah, there's a question. A student's asking, I would like to know what if I don't arrive in the US before Jan 3rd because embassy in his country, they're taking longer than usual for visa appointments. So the rule is if you cannot arrive before the first day of class, before the first day of the class start, then you can either defer your admission to the next quarter or take 1 quarter online, especially if you're talking about the winter quarter. And remember, you can do the right set of classes based on your counselor's guidance. And even if you do it online, they will be counted towards your academic and transfer progress. So it's up to you. You can either defer to the next quarter or take that quarter online. But you cannot enter the US after classes of a particular quarter have started. You can't enter midway as an international student.
Thanks, Dipali. I see a question. Some professors are good in Foothill and some at De Anza. Can we select courses at both campuses? So yes, the answer is yes. A lot of students do that. You have to work, if you're here in the US on your F1 visa, you'll have to ask for permission from our immigration advisor so that your record is handled correctly, but it is possible to do enrollment at both campuses. So you do need a primary campus, but then once you're there, you may enroll in classes at the other campus. It's actually a pretty common thing to do. I did see at some point someone asked what's the maximum amount of units you can take per quarter is 21.5 units, which is quite a lot. But if you would want even more, you'd need to ask for special permission from the academic counselor. And they would review, I think you can't do it in your first quarter, take more than that because they want to review your GPA and make sure that it's a realistic thing. But 21.5 is the max you can enroll in on your own without any special permission. Does internship affect OPT? So no, CPT is separate than OPT, so you can participate in both. If you've done, there is a maximum, and I apologize, I don't know, as I'm not the immigration advisor, there is a maximum amount of CPT internship you can do. I'm not sure if it's 6 quarters or what, but you can't do it indefinitely. But even if you do CPT, OPT is separate, it's still available to you. And to do OPT, you do need to complete the degree. So actually earn the associate degree, or after you do your bachelor degree after transfer.
Sorry, I'd like to add that even though you can do some classes at Foothill and De Anza, or some universities required you to complete a whole series of classes at one particular university, at one college. So you should speak to your counselor and only then make that decision of doing one class at Foothill or De Anza.
Yes, thank you, Shlok. So for example, there's some math sequences or other class sequences that you can't mix, like do the first in the sequence here, they don't line up. So that's why we do have the process where you need to get some approval and think about your decision before you do that. Thank you, Shlok, for adding that. confirmed student can take class. So again, it is possible to take classes at both, but there is a procedure. So you're going to be admitted to one campus or the other, and then you can work with us after you're enrolled at that primary campus to see if you can add classes at the other campus. Deepali just answered that in the chat. Financial aid. So Foothill and De Anza, unfortunately, financial aid is not available to non-residents. So we don't have financial aid available for international students.
Haley, I wanted to ask, so a student asked about scholarships. So we do not have scholarships as well for international students in the first year, but there are a few opportunities in the second year to get scholarship, but they're very few and very competitive. However, if you've done well, depending on different parameters, there are some universities that offer transfer scholarships, because that's when you need to spend a little more when you're transferring in the third and fourth year. So is that right, Haley, or is there anything that has changed? Okay.
Yeah, that sums it up.
And that's about it. I think one last question that's come up now is, could you please explain about transfer guarantee to the UCs?
Yes. So the transfer guarantee is a program between Foothill and De Anza with certain UC campuses. So not all of the UC campuses participate. For example, unfortunately, UC Berkeley is not part of the program, but a lot of the other UCs, which have really strong departments, are part of it. And so you have to decide if this is the path you want to take pretty early on. And what it is you, depending on your major and the campus you want to go to, if you meet the requirements specified, they guarantee you admission to that campus and that program. I think it's really great if you know exactly what campus you want to go to and exactly what program and it's available. But if you're not sure and you really want to try to get into, your top UC, a lot of students end up actually not doing it, because if you lock yourself into the transfer guarantee, then you might miss other opportunities at other UCs. So it's a complicated program, but essentially it does offer you guaranteed admission to one of the UC campuses if you complete the program requirements that are outlined. And it is only available at certain UC campuses and for certain majors. That info is available on the website if you want to check specifically, or send us an email specifically what major you're talking about. But it is a great program if you know exactly what UC you want to go to, and it's available. I see which college is better in child development. I assume it means between Foothill and De Anza. That's a good question. I think both programs are strong in that regard. I might say De Anza because they have the Child Development Center on campus, and you get hands-on work there. I don't know if anyone else on the call has more experience with that major.
I have just added the links to both the programs at Foothill and De Anza for child development. So you can also read on the website and see which one meets your requirements better.
Yeah. And then a lot of the programs are really comparable at both campuses, and it comes down to which campus environment just inspires you more. A similar question for biology. I think strongly they're probably the same level.
So I'll put up the links for both Foothill and De Anza, and then you can see which one do you want to go to.
Yeah, for a lot of the majors, it will just come down to which campus you feel more comfortable at, or which environment you like better, because academically they'll be the same. Some majors are a little bit different. For example, film, if anyone is interested in film or TV production, that would definitely be De Anza, has stronger program in that regard. And some other majors, but most of them are very comparable at both campuses. What's the usual requirements for the guarantee is going to be a GPA. You have to maintain a certain GPA, probably 3.0 is my guess. If someone wants to drop the tag link in the chat, that would be
I'll
great.
do that. I'll do that.
But besides the GPA, it's just going to be certain classes that you must take.
Yeah, I think in your first year, you have to complete 45 units. So that's one of the biggest requirements. And the GPA depends on the major.
On the major, yeah.
Sorry, it varies with major.
The major, yeah. Thank you, Dipali, for putting that. And then we've also got a request, a link for business, I guess, at both campuses. What would be the difference? Homestay program, we can definitely put the link in there. So the ISB homestay program is, it's a separate company. It's not actually on the Foothill and De Anza campus, but we work with them very closely and can connect you. So someone will put the link in there, but there's an application form. You mark that you are attending Foothill or De Anza, and then they take over from there. Business major, we have Brenda as a business major at Foothill. Any reason you chose Foothill over De Anza?
I chose Foothill more because I was already at Foothill and also because I love the campus, the environment. But my own experience, I'm almost done with the associates. I think the program is very strong, and now they offer the digital marketing certificate along with the business administration degree, which is a certificate that I think it's sponsored by Facebook, something like that. It is a very strong program that, and I think the business program at Foothill kind of gives you what's happening right now in the world. So I think it's very up to date. I love it. Yeah.
Good. A little plug for Foothill.
Sorry for interrupting, but it's 9:30 and I have class at 9:30. So
I was just gonna let everyone know it is time to wrap up. No problem, Kevin, you can sign off.
All right, thank you.
Let's see if we can take one or two more questions and then we're gonna have to end. But students on the panel, if you do need to head out, that's okay. Can TB tests be performed after arriving? So this must be an admitted student, and they know that the TB test is part of our requirements for arrival. It can be performed after arriving in the US. So it's, someone answered either works. You can, if you're not able to get it in your home country. You'll learn at your orientation for whichever campus you're attending how to get it after you arrive. And let's see, thank you, Lynn, for posting the homestay link. Deepali, did you answer the question or are you reposting?
Well, I've put up the link to the housing, website of, the housing information at Foothill and De Anza, that's the homestay option. And also the link to the tag, the transfer agreement guarantee matrix, and as well as the programs of, biology, as well as business. And then somebody asked about child development. And then there was a question that if UC Berkeley does not have a guarantee, how do you transfer that? So there are regular transfer agreements. There's a list of requirements for transfer. You will get assistance from your transfer center, as well as your international education counselor, and UC Berkeley counselors also visit campus to help you. So there's enough help available. You don't have to navigate this on your own.
Yeah, if you don't do the transfer guarantee program, you then would apply regularly and you're in the mix with all the other applicants for transfer. So you aren't 100% going to get in, they're going to review everything. So it just works in the regular way that you would apply to the school and try, but all your classes will transfer. That's actually a really good question. I think Lucy answered that. I'll take one more question. Winter, mostly online or in person? That is a major question on everyone's mind right now. And so for winter quarter, it's going to be a mix, still similar to fall, and it will depend a little bit on the campus. I know that Foothill College is going to have more in-person classes, I think, than De Anza, but there's still quite a bit available at De Anza if that's your campus too, to do in-person. So immigration-wise, the regulations will still stay the same and allow for students on an F1 visa to take more online classes than usual. But there will be more in-person options. If you want the most in-person options, Foothill might be the better option for you, as that campus is pushing a little bit harder to get back on campus. I don't know if any staff has anything to add on that. I hope it's offline. And of course, if you're studying online from your home country, there's still be plenty of options for you for the winter quarter to start your studies there. Okay. Thank you, Mongling. Yes, I'm actually, that reminds me, I'm going to share our final slide here so that you guys can contact us if you have more questions. So please don't hesitate to get in touch with us on social media or by email to ask any of the questions you have. If you are an admitted student or you're planning to get that application in by the end of the month, you'll be receiving information about the orientations at either campus very soon. So please make sure not to miss those events. They should all be virtual so that you can attend from your home country before your arrival, or maybe if you're staying in your home country for winter. So I think we'll end there, but I want to thank everyone again for joining today. It was so great to see so many faces from all over the world. Hopefully this was a useful session for you, and we hope to meet you in person or maybe online again at another virtual event. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Stay safe. You can follow us on our social media handles. That's the best way to keep in touch nowadays. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Great session.
Thank you.